There has been a report this week that he's been offered a contract. Virgil has. What can you tell us, if anything?
What do you think the answer is going to be?
I know what the answer is going to be. Well, I've always got to check, haven't I?
Your boss is always telling you have to ask that.
Check.
Yeah. Maybe tell your boss that you always get the same answer, so it's a bit boring for the people to listen to these press conference.
Well, it's like you tell your players what to do. So my boss tells me what to do. So if your players don't do what you ask them to do.
But I hope I give them better tips than the ones you get done.
Obviously, you've taken part in derbies before. I mean, it's Feyenoord Sparta, isn't it? And obviously, Klassiker is Feyenoord against Ajax, isn't it? So, what are you expecting from your first league Merseyside derby, particularly as it's the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, potentially?
Yeah, I think it's going to be special for everyone, for all the fans that are involved, for the players that are involved, and as well for the managers. To be part of this game is already special. Then to be part of the last one on Goodison Park makes it probably even more special. But yeah, it's only a nice experience if the result goes your way. So that is where we are focusing on most for this game.
Would it be added satisfaction to take all 3 points because it is the last one at Goodison Park, or is it purely just about 3 points because of where you are in your season now?
I never speak about 3 points before a game. You can only talk about this after the game, especially if you face a team like Everton that have done so well in the last 3 or 4 games, 3 clean sheets, a very good game during the week against Wolves. So yeah, we know we have to be ready for a tough game against a good side, against a well-managed side as well. So and probably the fans will be loud. I would say maybe just as loud as the Newcastle ones, but probably these ones are even going to be louder. So we have to be prepared for everything for this game.
And just in terms of who you might get back, is it only Alisson potentially? Is he even ready yet? And just how's Queeve as well? Just because obviously I know the disappointments at the end of the game against Newcastle, but you know he's got plenty of credit in the bank already for what he's done this season.
No, definitely. It was on 1-0 where Joe Gomez made a mistake and they went 1-1 towards him. He saved it. That could have been the 2-0. So he saved us in that moment. So maybe he saved us a point, because if we were going 2-0 down, you never know what could happen afterwards, but things would have been even harder for us. Unfortunately for Queeve, and that is the position he's in, if you make a mistake as a goalkeeper or you make a misjudgment, it's very difficult for someone else to cover it up for you. He's done that a few times for us. If someone else makes a mistake, a player, he's always there to help us. Unfortunately, we as a team are not able to help him, mostly if he misjudges a ball, because he's our last player. But I think he's in a good place, although he's disappointed like all the others, because we dropped points from a winning situation 1 minute before the end. But he can go into this game with a lot of confidence. Let that be clear.
Are they not ready yet then?
Not ready yet, no. But he will be ready very soon.
Arne, going into this Merseyside derby, you've got a lot of players in your squad that experience the atmosphere, know what it's all about. So to what extent do you lean on them going into a game like this?
Not particularly because they've played that game, but as a manager, you always lean on your players, because you can make up a good game plan or a great game idea. But it always depends on the players, if they are ready to work very hard and to play at their best. So you always lean on your players, not particularly in Everton away, but in every game you play.
And what do you know about the Merseyside derby? What has people around here told you about it?
People told me about it, but I think the main thing I have to know is their playing style, what we can expect. And yeah, you need to be aggressive if you go over there, because they will be aggressive as well. But you have to be aggressive in a smart way, because last season we were very aggressive when we went out there, because I watched the game back yesterday, and after half an hour I was a bit surprised, because Liverpool had the ball most of the time, but there were 10 fouls made by the Liverpool players and only 1 by an Everton player. So we have to be aggressive, but in a smart way, and especially because they are a big threat in set pieces as well. So every time we give away an unnecessary free kick. That is not smart. So yes, be aggressive, but in a concentrated and smart way.
Given what you said there, then, how do you approach this game? How do you set your team up and send them out?
I think we want to be aggressive on the front foot every game we play. That's not going to be different now, but we always make a game plan where we try to adjust about the threats the other team has and where we think we can hurt them. So that is the way we're going to look at this game as well. But every game, if you want to have a chance to win, you need to be very aggressive and you have to run a lot. And that is one of their strengths as well. They're a very, very hard-working team. So, yeah, if you want to talk about tactics, you first have to match their work rate, and that is what we can, because we've showed that in all the games we've played till now, that we are a team that works really hard as well. But that's also what we need if we go to Everton, because the team works really hard, and the fans of Everton will probably help them working even harder.
Everton have got form for targeting goalkeepers they perceive to be maybe a bit weak for set pieces. They did so against Tottenham last season with Vicario and scored from a set piece. Do you think, given the nature of the third goal on Wednesday, that are you expecting some of the same from Everton tomorrow?
I don't think Everton is the only team who is trying to block a goalkeeper or block the best header. That is, I think if we were here 5, 6, 7 years ago, nobody spoke that much about set pieces, and we're 5, 6 years later, and now almost everyone is talking about set pieces and the importance of set pieces. And Everton is definitely a team that can score from a set piece, but we have some players that can score from a set piece as well. So we are focused on the ones we have to defend, but we also think about the ones we can get, because big games, so the ones against City, the ones against Arsenal, Chelsea and all the others, are a main thing in those games are set pieces. So Merseyside Derby is a big game. So set pieces is a big part of that as well.
Could be quite extreme weather tomorrow, winds of 65 miles an hour forecast throughout the day. Is that much of a consideration for you?
Not at the moment, but the moment it is like this, you always have to be take this in considerations in the choices you make. So, and I'm not talking about the lineup, but I'm talking about the execution of actions of the players. So if you have the wind in your back or not, that can have an influence on certain actions you have to make. So if it is like this, we take this into account. But again, there are many things we take into account before we start a game, but this could be one of them.
Trent made a significant impact when he came on in Newcastle. I know it's almost impossible to replicate what he does with what you have in the squad. So can you explain how him being in the side changes the dynamic of the side, just differently with him in it to him not being in it?
Well, first of all, I think Jarell played quite a good game. From what's been told to me, not everybody is agreeing with me, but if you just look back at the game, then you saw that in his 1v1s he had no problems. The few times that Anthony Gordon was a threat, he was not involved in those moments. But if Connor is available, I think he's a similar type than Trent when he plays as a right fullback. He's also someone who tries to attack the goal, wants to make the underlaps and the overlaps, like you saw against Real Madrid, for example, where he almost scored. But if we play with Jarell, it's a different type of player. So he's then more, like the way Ben White's maybe fills that position, and he's a bit more behind the ball, playing the ball through the lines instead of underlapping, overlapping all the time. So that makes a difference if Jarell plays there or Trent plays there. It's not that much of a difference if Connor or Trent plays there. But Trent and Connor have had big impact on our offensive game if they play, that's for sure.
McAllister suspended for this game. You're fortunate that the midfielders you've got now available have all had game time, so you've got options there to replace him.
That's the good thing. The downside to it is that I think that these players hardly make any fouls, but they're already. Ryan is also one card away from being suspended, so that is something for us to be aware of, how that is possible, because we hardly make any fouls. And McAllister won in Newcastle. You could argue if you saw all the decisions that we made afterwards, if it was so correct that he got a yellow for that. But you know during a season that players will be suspended, and it's always in moments where you feel like, we could have used him. But the good thing for us is we've got the main four midfielders that have played with Daum, Curtis, Ryan and Maka. One of them is not available at the moment, so still 3 left, and Harvey Elliott is on his way back. So I think that line is not our main worry at the moment, but our main worry is, of course, I think at this moment, if you look at how close they're all back for playing time, it's only 3 injuries left, and that's in our last line with Diogo being close to being back, Federico being close to being back, and the same for Alisson. So that means that only Ibu, Connor and Kostas are a bit further away from playing time.
Hi, Arne. How much extra pressure do you and the players feel being top and other teams waiting for you to slip up?
I think if you play for Liverpool, every day you feel pressure because you play at a big club and everybody expects one thing from us, 2 things from us, that we win and that we play good football. So that's also the good thing, that these players are used, that this is expected from them. So if we're top of the league or we're 2nd, 3rd or 4th, people expect from us to win, and people expect us to win in a certain way. And that pressure is always there, and I think if you play at this level, if you work at this level, you like this pressure, for the simple reason that players are able to do what is expected from them. So it's much harder if you, for example, have to stay above the relegation zone and you're in a team like, it's quite hard for us to achieve this. But we've got the quality to do what we are doing at the moment, winning games and playing good football. And there's always pressure if you are at a club like Liverpool, like at Arsenal, like at City, like at Chelsea.
Hi Arne, you mentioned Ryan is 1 yellow card away from suspension. In the last 3 games, he's had a yellow card in the first half of games. I don't know whether or not his the fear of a second yellow played a part in his substitution at Newcastle. And how do you speak to your players when, as you mentioned, sometimes the referee's decisions don't go their way, but it's about finding that line of lawful aggression?
Yeah, we don't talk about the referee decisions with the players, especially not after the game. That's of no use. Sometimes they're in favor of you, sometimes they're maybe against you. So there's no use of talking about that, not over here and not with the players. When it comes to Ryan, the reason why I took him off, because he played every single game he played. It was like almost impossible for me to take him off because he played so well. You were like, if I take him off now, what happens with the team then? It's a bit exaggerated, but you know what I mean. And this game, especially first half wasn't his best, like for the whole team. First 10 minutes as a team, we started to play better. He as well. But this was a game where I felt like maybe someone else can do as a minimum the same, and that will rest him a bit then as well, because he's played so many games already, and that's why we chose to. We were, I think, also 2-1 down at that moment, so it was maybe a smart decision to go even more offensive with Curtis as an attacking midfielder in the role as a number 6. So there were again a few factors that made us taking him off, but he will start tomorrow.
Hold on. Wait till next door.
Thanks, Arne.
Yeah.
Cheers, Adam.